up, you guys? Welcome back to the Fumble Live, where we break down all the latest sports news. If you want to always be in the know when it comes to your favorite teams and athletes, make sure you subscribe and tap the bell. And before we get into these updates, we need to introduce ourselves. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
It's your boy Chris. You can find me everywhere at CK2K.
I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me on offense. Every time something. You can follow me everywhere at JRay the Fanatic.
And I'm Britt Johnson. You can follow me on all social media at I am Britt Johnson.
Okay, you guys, I have a little update from something I talked to you about yesterday during our live show. So Dr. Fauci said that sports could be canceled, including the NBA, for the remainder of the year, which was very upsetting to a lot of us. But LeBron chimed in and said that that's actually not the case. So he tweeted, "Saw some reports about execs and agents wanting to cancel the season. That's absolutely not true. Nobody I know is saying anything like that. As soon as it's safe, we would like to finish our season. I'm ready and our team is ready. Nobody should be canceling anything." Now, I love that LeBron is so optimistic about the season, but I think when it's coming from Dr. Fauci, it's different than if it's just an agent saying it. But Jackie, I'm going to ask you what you think about all of this first. Do you think that LeBron is just trying to keep the fans at bay and feeling hopeful, or do you think that he genuinely feels like the season won't be canceled?
I think he probably genuinely feels like the season won't be canceled. I'm sure. I mean, we know that the execs definitely want to move forward. And so I'm sure that they're saying that they want to try to figure out a way to kind of circumvent whatever, Dr. Fauci is saying, because I'm sure he's saying, oh, you can't gather, you can't, the one-on-one play would be a problem. So I'm sure they're still trying to figure out ways to kind of get around that, because they definitely, even if it's just for financial reasons, want to move forward with the season. So I think he's probably speaking more from what he's hearing versus what, this doctor who is very well versed in the situation is saying. But I think he's just going by what he's hearing.
Right. Well, Britt, where do you stand on this? Do you imagine the season being canceled, or do you think that it probably will resume at some point in some way, shape, or form?
My sentiments stay the same as yesterday. I believe that the season's going to happen at some point.
All right, great. Well, you guys, I'm going to jump into our first need-to-know news story, and it's actually relevant, and it's a similar topic, all about the NBA and the options they're considering for if they're able to bring the season back. So they're looking into using the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando as a potential location for games when or if the league resumes the 2019-2020 season. So the reactions were pretty positive online. One person said, "I don't care if they play on the effing moon, just bring the games back." That was on Twitter. Another tweet said, "They're trying to turn the NBA into an AAU super showcase." Another one said, "Sounds goofy to me," which is so punny. And then another one says, "LeBron's about to celebrate his 4th ring with Mickey Mouse." I actually love this one because I'm hoping that LeBron wins his 4th ring as well. Chris, I want to know from you, is this a step in the right direction?
Yeah, I like the idea. I think the only negative I have the idea is the fact that it's Disney World being the one that's in Florida. So it's like I don't want my NBA going to Florida as a whole. But I mean, the idea and everything that they presented and the stuff that I was reading yesterday, I like it. I think it would be cool. It makes sense. Again, the same question I've had this entire time. Does that mean this is just for playoffs, or is it going to be for all the teams continuing the rest of the season? I think that's the only question I had. I think maybe it was answered. I just missed it. But other than that, I like the idea. I'm all for the idea. I think just my only negative is Florida. That's really all I got.
I know. Can't we do it in Anaheim at the Disneyland over here somehow?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Right. Gavin Newsom would not allow that.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. Yeah. Fact.
I said Gavin Newsom would not allow that. He wants no sports, nothing happening in his state at all. Florida, on the other hand, they're like, let's go party all together. Let's have
balls up.
Yeah.
We could do Nevada too, though, because isn't it the mayor that said, "Hey, we volunteer to be guinea pigs to see if we can be full on back in the world"? Didn't she volunteer the whole state of Nevada to be guinea pigs or something like that?
I did see that too. I did see that too.
Go to Nevada.
Right.
Well, I'm glad that despite these reports that Dr. Fauci said that, the NBA is still trying to consider ways that they can let the season resume and happen somewhat normally. So, if this is an option, I'm okay with it. I'm with the person who said, I don't care if they play on the effing moon, just bring the games back. That's how I feel as well. I don't care if there's fans there. I don't care about anything. Let's just get it going. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to jump in to our next need-to-know news story. It's all about Antonio Brown. So the Baltimore Ravens GM, Eric DeCosta, is being kind of vague about whether he plans on signing Antonio Brown, but it's definitely an option. So that means that AB will get another shot in the NFL. DeCosta said, quote, "We're always assessing the players out there on the streets. We're looking at guys. We're making decisions that we think are best for the clubs. If we think there's a guy out there who fits us, who's got the skill set to provide value, we'll certainly pounce on that kind of guy. We've got a lot of time to build, and we'll continue to do that. I look at this time period right here after the draft as a great opportunity to get better as a football team, and we will look to do that." So the idea that Antonio Brown could become a Raven started to gain steam after he was spotted working out with the team's quarterback, Lamar Jackson. And the Ravens needed a wide receiver heading into the draft, but they actually went with a linebacker, Patrick Queen, and running back J.K. Dobbins. They'll have some leftover cap space to use, but the biggest question that DeCosta is asking himself is, does he fit the Ravens culture? And one thing that I personally am wondering is he ready to go back into the NFL? Britt, do you see him being a good fit for their roster? Is this something you could see happening?
So I don't want to put Lamar Jackson in a box at all, but he is a tight end heavy thrower. He throws that short ball. That's what's successful and has been successful with that team this past year. Is he's known for throwing the short ball to his tight ends. He doesn't really throw deep to receivers. So I don't know if it's necessarily a fit if you're looking at what they did last year, but obviously he's a young quarterback, so I would want him to improve and, start throwing more to receivers and stuff like that, so you can just expand your offense a little bit. So if you are going to open it up to throwing a longer ball and throwing down to receivers a little bit more, I would say Antonio Brown would be a good guy to do that because he's going to be able to catch the ball. If you're going to have and try something new and, help your quarterback become a better quarterback, you also need somebody great for him to throw to. So Antonio Brown would be one of the best players too. And bringing in a new guy at a receiver position doesn't really work because it's a young player and Lamar's not used to throwing balls like that anyway, so you would need a veteran receiver for him to help him expand that part of his throwing ability and passing ability. So I would say that's a good fit in that sense if that's what they're trying to do is build on Lamar Jackson being a more well-rounded passer.
Mm-hmm. Really quickly, I want to shout out Pahokee Sports, who gave us, looks like, $7 total. So thanks for that. That was really nice of you. Next question. Jackie, I know that you've been pretty outspoken about Antonio Brown receiving mental health treatment, and I think most people can agree that would probably be beneficial for him. But do you think that this is a good idea or a bad idea for him to go to the Ravens?
I think it's a great idea. I agree with Britt. I think that, it gives Lamar Jackson someone to throw to. We said the same thing about Dak. Dak wasn't really that accurate beyond 10, 15 yards. Then he got Amari Cooper, and now we're like, oh, okay, this kid's got talent, you know what I mean? So I think it changes things up for him. And I think that when you're talking about mental health issues and I am not a mental health expert. I'm just going off the few people that I know that have suffered from it. Once you get back into something that you're passionate about, once you get back into a routine, it makes your mental health treatment go a little bit easier. And I think for someone like Antonio Brown, who his whole entire life has centered around being in this sport, to not have that, I wonder if that's doing more harm than good. But nevertheless, this is all conjecture until the NFL conducts their investigation on that Britney sexual harassment accusation. So, which I think will pass because I don't think you fly to meet your abuser 3 different times. I think that's a little odd. So I think he'll be fine, and I think that will pass over. But that definitely needs to happen first. But if he ends up in Baltimore, I think that's a fantastic idea.
All right. But Chris, where do you stand on this? Do you think that he's too much of a liability? Could going back into the NFL be good for him?
I mean, AB is going to be AB, but I feel like in a situation with a guy like John Harbaugh, I think maybe they can get that. Hopefully, I mean, he played with Bill Belichick and John Gruden, so I know who knows if being a veteran coach means anything at this point. But like Britt and Jackie, I kind of like the fit. I feel like what Britt was saying as far as what he's known for and for being, the deep threat that he is, and that might be a challenge for Lamar Jackson. I agree with both of them that, he could possibly help Lamar Jackson unlock that part of his game. But I also feel like in like the slant, I feel like Antonio Brown is very useful there too, and people forget that. And that's Lamar Jackson's bread and butter. As long as it's staying within that 15, I think that he can get, some for Antonio Brown as well for himself. So I think it would be a good match from both levels as far as like his psyche. I think that culture that is going on with Baltimore with, John Harbaugh, guys that have been, in the front office and been up there as coaches for a long period of time, that might be something he kind of needs going forward. But I love it. I'm all for it. I hope it goes through. I think of any spot, that one makes sense.
All right, so it looks like we're all in support of this idea. I'm going to move on into our third need-to-know news story, all about Aaron Rodgers. So Brett Favre says that he thinks Aaron Rodgers will actually play somewhere else. He joined the Rich Eisen show to discuss Aaron's future with the Packers now that they didn't draft him an offensive weapon. He said he was very surprised. He said, "I thought they'd go in the direction of an offensive weapon. Nothing against Jordan Love, but you trade up to get more of a project. He can't help you get to the Super Bowl immediately." He said that sends a, quote, disrespect message to Aaron Rodgers. He has every right to be disappointed if he is, and I'm sure we can all agree that he probably is. He also said, "I think they burned a bridge that will be hard to overcome. At some point, it will rear its ugly head." So now Brett thinks that this creates the perfect storm, the best excuse for Aaron to leave. Now, Jackie, do you agree with him or no? I saw you shaking your head yes over there. So give me your thoughts.
I mean, who knows better than Brett Favre? He was in this exact situation 15 years ago. So who knows better than him? He's speaking from experience. Right. So absolutely. And I think all of us on some level can relate to it, being in a situation where you've been disrespected, like you're putting your all into something and then you've been disrespected. It takes an extraordinary, and I'm not even talking about football, it takes an extraordinary psyche to know that they don't give a damn about you personally. They're not going to help you be successful in your job and go out there day in and day out and give it your all. That is a level of humility that I don't know any of us actually truly possess, because you still want to succeed. You still want to go to the Super Bowl. You still want to get deep in the playoffs. And you have an organization that said, "Nah, we don't give a damn about none of that." Like, what? How are you going to? Nah, I think Brett Favre is 100% right on this one.
So, Britt, do you think that he, meaning Aaron Rodgers, should pull a Tom Brady and switch teams on us?
Well, I don't know if you guys remember, I did a whole Brit's take about this, and that was my whole thing. I 100% believe Aaron Rodgers should leave, and obviously he has a huge salary to live to for this season and for next season. So unfortunately, I don't think it's going to necessarily happen. But I would love him to leave and go somewhere else. I just don't see it happening this year, at least. Next year, maybe, because I think next year it's like 30 million instead of 50 million, which is this season. So next year is kind of on average where quarterbacks are getting paid anyway. So somebody would pick up that 30 million, but 50 million for one season is a lot of money to pick up. So unless they could work out some deal where the Packers kind of still have to take care of like some of that money, whether it's just part of the signing bonus of it, or the case is, I don't know the exact breakdown in front of me of what he's owed this year. I know it's the 50, but I don't know how it's broken down. But if the Packers have to like cough up some of that and hold on to some of that, then maybe this year, but I don't see it happening this year at all, unfortunately. But he's going to get out of here. I said it already, and it's going to happen. And I think Brett Favre that was the one nice thing he's done for Aaron Rodgers, is tell him not to make the same mistake he did, because we all remember Brett tried to retire first, and when he tried to come back, then he ended up getting traded at that point. But like, he tried to retire and just say, "Okay, I'm not going to start any trouble here with the Packers. I'll just retire." So I know he doesn't want Aaron Rodgers to go that route, and I'm glad he said something and spoke out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that he's looking out for him. So it looks like the likeliness of Aaron Rodgers switching teams right now is not very high. But Chris, if Tom Brady does have a successful season in Tampa, could you see Aaron doing the same thing?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the same route because Brady was a free agent. But I mean, I definitely, I think we're all in agreement that he's going to be moved. It's just about when, because of, like you just said, Tom Brady was able to move because he was a free agent. He's stuck on this big old contract, and that's not going to be easy to move, which is why Britt nailed it on the head. I don't think it's going to happen right away. So it's just going to, the Packers made this situation awkward for themselves, and it's going to continue to be awkward because they can try to shop. I know he is Aaron Rodgers, but that contract is still going to be pretty rough to move. So it's going to be awkward before this thing gets figured out. We're going to be talking about it for quite some time. But yes, he should definitely move.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he does. I mean, it's safe to say that they made a big mistake not drafting him the right offensive weapon. But also, great transition into the post-up. Someone else made a big mistake when talking about a well-known NBA athlete. So, Chris, take it away.
Well-known, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the post-up with your boy Chris. And I got caught yesterday, so this time I'll say it. Quarantine edition. People got on me yesterday. I didn't say quarantine edition. I apologize. But guys, you guys know what it is. Post-up is the show where we dabble in the craziness in sports, social media, and boy, do I have some stuff for you guys today. Now, this one cracked me up when my producer sent this to me yesterday because I could not believe what I was seeing, and the fact that it was up for so long is the best part of this whole story. Well, we talked about, actually, Devin spoke about in a video. Go check out the video after this live. Pretty much Kendall Jenner and Devin Booker going on a road trip, and that they all follow the social distancing protocol, and they've been social distancing together, and blah, 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 blah. So because of that, now Hollywood Life, who loves to cover things like this, they posted this tweet that you see to my, I guess, be right, left, whatever it is for you guys, on the side of me, okay? And nothing looks wrong with that picture, right? You see them covering a story on Devin Booker and Kendall Jenner. All the rumors are out. Maybe they're dating, maybe they're not. That's not the point of what I'm talking to you about, because that might look good, but that wasn't the initial picture that they posted up when the story went live. This was. Can we get the real one? Now, maybe I'm tripping, but that don't look like Devin Booker to me when I'm looking at that, just eye to eye looking at that picture. I don't know who it is. I tried to find who this player was. I was looking at the responses, so maybe somebody else on the panel know who it is. But I looked at the responses. Nobody could tell me who it was. But that's not Devin Booker, okay? Yes, they did try to fix it, but in the fixed tweet, all the responses were people like, "Nah, y'all not slick. We saw what you did to our boy Devin Booker." I didn't put it in here, but there was a picture of Devin Booker with this dude's face photoshopped, and he's like, "From now on, this is how I see Devin Booker." I thought the responses were great. But Hollywood Life, get it together. I understand y'all don't be covering sports players unless it's Ben Simmons, but come on, man. That's not the book, all right? It's an all-star now, all right? Give him some respect. Right, exactly. Right, Tristan Thompson, Ben Simmons, maybe a little Blake Griffin, but get my boy D-Book some love. Anyways, speaking of drama and celebrities, the Ball family. This was not drama, but, Ball family loves their drama. This was actually pretty fun. We talk about all these people having these big old mansions and being able to do things that we all wish that we could do outside. Well, they're out there playing catch in their front yard, and it looked dope. But Lonzo Ball was out there showing the skills. In his mind, he was out there showing skills. I mean, he was all right, but Lonzo just run like his arms just way too long for his damn body. So when he runs, it just looks awkward. But he out there putting the feet work on his homies, okay, including his little brother. Even though, as you're about to see right now, LaMelo, he took the defense from basketball straight to football because it ain't there. Because look at him, he that's a PI all the way, and I know things about PIs. Now here's another play right here where LaMelo just looked lost. Look at this defense. I'll see you later. Okay. Now look, as a Knicks fan, hoping that LaMelo Ball comes to us in the draft, I'm already worried about his defense on the basketball court. But if I'm seeing that it just translates in all sports, that has me a little worried. But other than that, I'm going to direct it to you, Jackie, because you are my fellow Saints fan. We know that Lonzo plays for the Pelicans. So I got to ask you, like, you think the Saints can fill up a spot for Lonzo? I mean, we got a lot of receivers, but I mean, Michael Thompson still needs some help with that number 2. You think Zoe can play part-time with the Saints?
You know I'm gonna say no. You know I'm gonna say
well,
no. Like, he needs to focus on being a good basketball player. He needs to focus on living up to that hype.
Man.
He's making his way. Focus. That's all I'm gonna say.
Don't get sidetracked. Whatever.
No, don't, and stop playing football at home.
No,
practice
Leo. No, get her out of here.
The hate.
There she goes. There you go. Moving on. This has been great. We've been talking about home workouts ever since the quarantine has started, and this one he obviously did in the gym, but I feel like this can translate to somebody's living room, somebody's house. This is the most beautiful workout I've ever seen. Look at this man. He is giving up his whole entire life for this workout. I don't know how he didn't break any of his arms. Look at the flying moves, looking like a spider monkey. He's on his toes. Look at the ninjutsu that he's doing on the floor. Like, this is next level. Look at him go. The elbows, fully straight. The best part is that nobody else in that gym gives a single damn about what's going on right now. So that leads me to believe that this man is in the gym day in, day out, doing this exact workout every single day, because they all look like they're used to it. So this look, give his whole body. Like, that is so much force that he's putting on his elbows. That is insane to look at. Now I asked because Devin, Britt, all you guys talking about home workouts. I need to know, is this being added to the regimen right here? Because if I'm sure you can hit him up, you can find out how to do it step by step.
This is what I do.
That's your normal, Devin? Go ahead, Devin.
What were you gonna say, Devin?
I said that's what I do on a normal day. So yeah, no big deal.
So Devin does that, and she does her fighting, boxing the air thing. That's what Devin does on her workouts. No, I'm like lower body all day. I'll do some lower body action like that, but I don't be working out the upper body like that.
Well,
yeah, no,
be careful.
That looks like bad on the wrist.
Elbows.
Right,
man. So someone on Twitter, and I love this because I feel like we all relate. Somebody on Twitter said, "This is me trying to put on my fitted sheet while I'm laid on it." Because when those stupid sheets you put on your damn bed, and you looking like a fool trying to put it on. That one was great, all time great. But look, man, I need to add this to my regimen. But the thing is, I live in an apartment, so imagine the people that luckily I live on the bottom floor. But imagine if you lived on the top floor and the people underneath, like, the hell is that dude up there doing? The amount of times that you throwing your body on the floor, yo, that is comedy. Shout out to this guy. I need to add that to my regimen.
And record it because we want to see it.
Look,
you need to record
this one I wouldn't be against recording. That one is hilarious to me. I would not be opposed to. It'll look bad, and I'm putting my medical bill on you, Jackie, for making me record it. So now it's on you to pay for my medical bill. Because I'm gonna lose my elbows. My elbow's gonna be gone. Anyways, moving on to this one. Post Up is known for trashing Kyle Kuzma, Laker conspiracies, and trick shots. Okay, we do a lot of all those things on the Post Up, and I don't have any Laker conspiracies. And Kuzma, you're safe today. That means I got a trick shot for you guys. Now, normally I'm pretty, pessimistic and negative with these trick shots. We all know Chris is looking for editing. Chris is looking for, them trying time number 85. But this one I found pretty dope. You could clearly tell by their actions with the video that they both look like they've been doing this all day, and there's no like, oh yeah, surprise, like excitement behind any of their shots. But at the same time, it's just seeing them actually going is like, it's like oddly satisfying because look at it gets better. They start using pans and stuff like that. Was basically the pans, hits the top off. Like this, I found this is satisfying to watch. This is interesting. But you could tell by both of their reactions, they've been doing this all damn quarantine, trying to figure this damn thing out. How does this one have you guys feel?
I think
like I miss
cool.
beer pong.
Like I miss beer pong. What'd you say, Devin?
I said I think it's pretty cool. You don't think there's any editing magic going on here?
No,
Chris,
nothing. No, nothing. No editing here. You can clearly tell by their reactions that they've been doing this all day. So that already fills the void that, in my pessimistic mind, like, they tried this all day. I don't care if but no, it's fine. It's all good. I enjoyed it. It was fun. What were you going to say, Britt? You were about to say something.
Oh, I was just gonna shout out my friend who actually. I'm okay. Here we go.
She's like, "Whoa, Chris, this is my bit.
My show now." No, I was at my friend who actually is so bored with her 2 young children right now that she actually taught them how to play beer pong.
Right, you did
Nice.
tell us that. Now they need to add
Yeah,
this.
so
Get
that's
the
what brought
pots.
me to that. Yep, it's great.
Get the
It's
pots
great.
and try this out.
Yep.
And last but not least, this one, oh man, I know we're gonna start. This one's gonna start a discussion because when I first saw him, because he tweeted this out a few years ago too, and now he's bringing it back up because it's close to the mark. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Jaylen Brown, Boston Celtics forward / guard, whatever position you want to put him in. Now, we all know Jaylen Brown, who's had a pretty solid year before everything went down with the coronavirus. And some people were saying that he was, fringe all-star in some points of the season, right? Well, let's rewind a little bit back to when he was in high school, going to school and stuff like that. Turned out he probably wasn't the best kid, which a lot of situations you could see that being the case for some of these athletes and stuff like that. But I still feel like, regardless of whatever situation you're in, it's a little uncalled for to have your teacher say things to you like this. Now, yesterday on his IG, he posted this old tweet that he had tweeted back in 2014 saying that my teacher said she will look me up in the Cobb County jail in 5 years. ... Wow. That's a bit, not even a bit. That's a lot of much. I don't know how I feel about that. Like I said, I know that kids can be reckless. I know kids can be, bad at times and stuff like that. But to me, for a teacher who is somebody who is almost as important in a kid's life as their parents, because that's the person that, is going to pass on any kind of knowledge, pass on any kind of values going on from step to step in their path to being an adult. For a teacher to say something like that, that obviously was something that stuck to him. Luckily, Jaylen Brown, like I just said, was playing. He's been playing his best basketball in his career this past season. Celtics are looking good, all those kind of things, and he obviously overcame whatever negatives that this teacher was pointing out. Now, maybe he was a bad kid. I don't know. But the point of the matter to me is this message that was received by him luckily turned it into a positive, and I'm sure other people might not turn it into a positive. I want to know each of your guys' opinion on just having teachers out there like this, treating students like this. But before I do that, I got to shout out Matt Barnes for the second day in a row, because I already know what is going to come from this comment, because he commented, "What's the teacher's name?" ? And that means that he's going to get a Derek Fisher drive wherever that teacher is at, which I am all for, because that's, to me, that's a little out of pocket. So coming back to the panel, I want to start with you, Devin, by just seeing that this was something being said to a student. Like, do you feel like that is, obviously it's a little out of pocket, but do you feel like that has any kind of strategy in teaching or helping a kid? I don't know. What would be the purpose of a teacher saying this to a kid? Do you see any?
Honestly, no. I don't see any purpose in a teacher saying this to a kid. I think that a teacher, like you were saying, is supposed to be supportive. They're supposed to be a good guide to life. They're not supposed to bring you down and tell you that you're never going to amount to anything except for somebody who's behind bars. So to me, this is wildly inappropriate. And if that were my kid, I would be the Karen calling the school saying, "This is super inappropriate. Why'd you do that?" Like, you
the Karen calling the school.
Seriously, right. I think you need to be uplifting students, and I'm just glad that he didn't let someone's lack of faith in him prevent him being able to do a successful career. And now look at him. That's the best revenge ever.
100%. Jackie, I bring it the same question to you. Is there any room or is there any need for this kind of teaching for a student, regardless of how bad the student may be?
No, see, and this is why I volunteer with especially like inner city kids, because unfortunately, and I would be the first person up to that school, and Matt Barnes, whatever you do, I think is warranted, because this is definitely out of pocket. But, and again, you guys know I don't give passes, but when you're working in the inner city, and sometimes you have so many children that are on the wrong path, they talk back, they don't have any parental supervision at home, so they're just problem children. And everybody has a breaking point, you know what I mean? Everybody gets fed up. Everybody's been cussed out one too many times, and maybe this was just the day that she just had it. And he's like, you know what, you're going to end up behind bars. And so, but I would have loved for the story to continue, and for maybe the next day her come back and say, you know what, I shouldn't have said that. You can be anything you want to be. Don't let anybody, including myself, tell you that you can't be better than what anyone else tells you you can be. So the fact that didn't happen, or maybe it did, and we'll find that out later, But yeah, this was wrong. And this is why I think a lot of people, all of us, if we have the time, should mentor kids if we can, because we need to speak life into their situation, because they are definitely our future. So I'm glad that he overcame that for sure. But Devin, you would 100%. Not be a Karen if you called the school. You'd be a hero. So yeah, this is definitely out of pocket.
Thank you,
Brett,
Jackie.
I want to hear from you as well. Yeah, right. No, and Brett, I want to hear from you too. I've seen something like this. Like, definitely, do you agree with everything that's been said so far? Do you think that, because I'm sure that we all believed, like I know your policy, there's no participation trophies, but at the same time, there's a limit. And do you feel like this was the limit? Do you feel like this is something that should be allowed in schools?
Well, first two things, I do want to piggyback off what Jackie said on mentoring and stuff. I think it's a great thing to do. I do Big Brothers, Big Sisters, so that's obviously important for everybody to kind of get involved in something like that, because you could be the difference in somebody's life that's positive. Obviously, this has stuck and been in his head for a long time, because in 2016, because I have been with the Fumble for a long time, we actually did this story. He posted this after he got drafted, so he's posting it yet again, because he clearly feels some type of way still about it. Like, he's been in the league now for 4 years and he still feels some type of way about it, to where he's reposting it, even though he posted it a couple of years ago. It still bothers him, clearly. So, and he's making way more money than the teacher ever will, and all this kind of stuff. And something that she said literally is still haunting him, to where he feels like he needs to post it again. So that's really sad that it takes that one thing was such a big impact on his life and how he feels about himself, kind of still clearly. Like, even though he is in the NBA and he's doing well with the Celtics and stuff like that, he clearly still feels heavy and still probably has some self-esteem issues on that issue, because he's still talking about it. Like, I remember doing this story 4 years ago, and I'm like, oh, he's like doing the tweet again, but it clearly must mean that it bothers him that much. And that's really sad that sometimes we don't know, like, little things that people say to you. And like, the teacher probably didn't even remember saying that, because again, she's in a classroom full of kids. People are saying stuff to her every day. She's probably dealt with tons of mental abuse too, being a teacher. Right. And, some moments she said stuff back to kids or whatever the case. And she probably didn't even remember that moment, but it's something that stuck with him, and it's unfortunate. And I think it's just a thing for all of us to remember. You don't know what people are going through, what is going to end up affecting their life or their self-esteem or whatever the case is. So, I think all of us kind of need to just be a little bit more careful on like what we say, because we don't know how it's going to impact somebody else. And this could have been the thing that made him work so hard to get in the NBA, to not end up being that person. So unfortunately, this could have been a positive in his life, because a lot of times when something negative happens, you kind of want to prove somebody wrong, and you go in the opposite direction of what I didn't know Jaylen Brown back in the day. I don't know what kind of kid he was, so maybe that could have been something around and made him better. So you never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's just the other side too, where there are probably other kids that unfortunately maybe they don't turn into a positive, and it is something that affects them so much. It's like, maybe they're right, maybe that's all I am. You're probably right, and then they end up going down that path. So yeah, it's just a big thing. It was something that really irked me. I'm really glad that we were able to have that conversation about that. But that's it for me on Post Up. It wasn't a downtime to hand it over to you, Jackie, but I think it was a very good conversation.
It's a positive spin. The positive spin is that he's having a successful career. Jackie, take it away.
Yes. All right, you guys, so let's get into these WTF moments. These are all the things that kind of make you go, what the F? But this one, they're usually fun. This one's a little troubling. Former Jags linebacker Telvin Smith announced that his intention to sit out the 2019 season for mental health reasons, which I'm all for that. You guys know I'm all about taking care of yourself mentally. But now we have to kind of wonder if those mental health issues might be a little bit more sinister. So take a look at this tweet really quick. So this is an aerial view. I know you guys can see all the cars and stuff. So that is a SWAT team and undercover detectives that are issuing a warrant, because Telvin Smith has been arrested and charged with unlawful sexual activity with certain minors. I've never seen the certain in this charge before, so that was new for me. Certain minors. But apparently Smith paid a 17-year-old girl $100 for a sexual act. She then used that money to buy emergency contraception. That purchase is what led to them knowing it was Telvin that did it, and which led to his arrest. So individuals in Florida have to be 18 years old to consent to consensual sex. So he's looking at a statutory rape charge. He was booked into the Duval County Jail, ironically, and released 5 hours after he was booked in on a $50,000 bond. He has no court date right now. But the interesting thing about this is, if you look at Colorado, where I'm from, the age of consent is 17. In Nevada, it's 16. So that, I think that creates problems when we don't have it consistent across the board. This one's going to be interesting to watch it play out in court. Telvin is 29, so either way, he's older than this young lady. But older man, younger woman is a situation that we're used to. So my question, I'm going to start with you, Britt, on this one. 17, is this something that we need to revamp? Is 17 being the age of consent a good age? Or 18 in Florida? Should we be consistent in the whole country so people know, like, just because, like, if you grew up in Nevada and it's 16 and then you go to Florida, because technically if you take your 16-year-old girlfriend with you to Florida, you could still be charged with statutory rape. Should we be consistent? Yeah. Should we be consistent with this?
I 100% believe you should be consistent, just because I'm not going to speak of the particular case that has been linked the last couple of years, but a lot of people were like, what? The girl was 17 or the girl was 16. And I'm like, well, in Georgia, the legal age of consent back then was 16 years old. Now I think it's 17. It's still not 18. In Chicago, it's 17 years old. So like, people in California, it's 18. And then like you mentioned, in Florida, it's 18. So it's like, I think it depends on where you're from in reference to like, oh my gosh, she's doing something wrong. And why wasn't he arrested? Well, because in that state, it's not illegal to do, So I think that if we did have a consistent thing, like whatever we consider consent 18, then it should be that. I mean, I almost feel like that should be like a federal law, not like a state by state situation, just because a lot of these cases end up being huge cases to where everybody's looking at it across the United States, and you're not putting it into perspective what the law actually is in that state. And so then we get all these things where we're thinking somebody's doing something horrible, and really even maybe where he's from, the legal age of consent is younger. He probably honestly didn't know how old the girl was. I would doubt that he asked for her ID or something like that.
Right.
But even still, and I know young girls now look older than I do. So I don't know, like that's a whole other thing. And it's unfortunate that it's happening like that. I would hope that he didn't knowingly do something like this. But again, like it depends. Your perspective is all based on where you're from and what area and stuff like that, because it is different in a lot of different places. When I was younger, I had a babysitter. She was my babysitter when she was like 13. And then when she turned 15, I saw her again. She was married with a 1-year-old kid. And in Kentucky, you could get married at 15 years old. That was the part of the law there. So it was like not a big deal. And then you come to California and our laws are a lot stricter on that thing. So I think to answer your question across the board, it should be because of our perception towards people, because we're not even looking ourselves at like, oh, well, what is the law there? Like everyone's just like, what? He did this? Well, I know where I'm from. That's not the law or whatever, but it is there. It's okay there,
Yeah. My brother has a friend in Colorado. He was 19. He got his 16-year-old girlfriend pregnant. Like I said, the age of consent in Colorado is 17. His family filed statutory rape charges. They're still married to this day, even though he has to, for the rest of his life, register as a sex offender because he was tried and convicted for this. So, Chris, now I want to ask you, as a man, like when you hear about stuff like that, where men are literally married to people that because the parents felt some type of way, they filed statutory rape. Like how would, if you had a son, like how would you advise them in this situation? The blank stare says a lot.
Because I would just hope that my son would not be even putting themselves in that position. I do agree with both of you guys that it should be one age. That's it. There shouldn't be the jump in 18, 16, 17. So it's hard for me to take the side of the male in that situation, even though I know they're both agreeing that because marriage is something that they're both agreeing on compared to like paying for whatever the situation might be. That's such a loaded, hard question to answer because I understand we're the family that is, going after the son's family. I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, like they're both agreeing to just stay away from
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Lot.
It's just a lot to go, but just stay away from going after kids in these age ranges. When it to me, I just find it all just so insane that people even want to tiptoe that line. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot. That's a loaded question, man. That's a lot.
Yeah, well, let's get on to some happier times then. Because as much as I love this Jordan documentary, I must admit it's starting to get on my nerves because some of these conversations are becoming ridiculous. We're doing too much what ifs right now. I think we all can concede that these athletes today would probably run amok if they were playing in the NBA 20 years ago. And I personally agree with Isaiah Thomas when he says that Michael Jordan is magic. Well, Isaiah didn't say magical. I'm saying that Michael Jordan was magical. But, you know, when you compare him to today, it's just a different time. So let's get to Michael Jordan's former agent really quick. David Falk. He told NBC Sports in Washington, he said, with virtually no defense, no hand checking, I think if Jordan played today, if he was in his prime in today's rules, I think he'd average between 50 and 60 points a game. I think he'd shoot 75% from the floor. If you couldn't hand check him, he would be completely unstoppable. He also, before I get into that, he also doesn't take kindly to Scottie Pippen saying that LeBron James is a better player. He says Scottie Pippen was not the competitor that Jordan was. And he says, quote, now, if you're Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan made your career, completely made your career, even if you think that, keep it to yourself. So I'm going to start there. So I'm going to start with you, Chris. If you're Scottie Pippen, is David Falk right? Do you keep this to yourself? If you think anybody is better than Michael Jordan, do you keep it to yourself?
Absolutely not. Why would you keep it to yourself if you think? I feel like that in any situation, he's the one that people would want to hear from. I feel like that's a conversation he's probably had with MJ. I don't see why he would have to keep that opinion to himself, especially that the dude that played next to him his entire career,
right.
Like you can have an opinion like that. I feel like he's the one to have an opinion like that. I mean, whether people agree or disagree, that's different. That's a different conversation. But for him to have that opinion, I feel like he should be able to say something. This whole thing that this man went in on, like, I get it. You know, that was his agent, rah. But at the same time, it's just, I love MJ. But at the same time, this man pulled a reverse card on us because we talking about, you know, people saying that LeBron would then go average 50 over there. Now we're getting the reverse card. Now Mike without handshaking. So you would have these conversations are just funny and out of pocket to me. But yeah,
I'm telling you, they're getting on my nerves.
Yeah, 100%. But I fully believe that, yeah, Scottie Pippen should 100% be able to have an opinion and give an opinion because that's just how dudes from that time were. Like, they're going to say how they feel. And I respect it. I'm sure that him and MJ aren't fighting about something like that. Like,
yeah. So the 50 to 60 points a night, Britt, do you think that that's and 75% from the floor? Britt, you think that's a feasible prediction? Do you think that's even a prediction we should be making since we never can see it?
Well, me and Chris were talking about it yesterday too, again, about like the comparing in the different eras, annoying. Like, I'm annoyed with it as well. But just to answer the question of where I think he was coming from is because, you know, imagine like Jordan hitting the 38s and the 41 points against the bad boy Pistons and then coming to now where the refs don't let you play ball, you know? Like, I'm not saying necessarily the NBA players are trying to be soft, but the refs make them soft because they don't let them play defense like they should. And I think in this time, he probably would score more points because he's not going up against guys that are literally trying to make sure he gets hurt and not getting calls on him. So I see that point of it and what he was trying to make, saying like, oh, well, imagine him doing what he was doing and not having the bad boy Pistons literally trying to murder him every single time he went to the basket. So I can get that because he was still scoring in 40s and 50s points during that time too. So I can see that. Like, I see why he said that. Obviously, like, he's going to be like a little more dramatic about stuff because that's his agent. That's what agents do. They sell their player, you know, like, this is the greatest guy in the world. You need this guy. You da-da-da-da. Like, that's just their mentality. Even though he's not his agent anymore, he's still living off of that. Like, that's how they talk, you know? So I see It's a little dramatic, but I do see where he's coming from in that, because the players can't play defense now like they used to.
Yeah, no, I get it. But he's got more shade. More shade is a coming, because apparently right after this show, I am going to go to an eye doctor, because David Fox says myself and everyone else who dwells in the kingdom should go have our eyes checked. He said, quote, I hope personally, I'm sure that it won't, but the documentary ends talk about, like, is Jordan competitive with LeBron? He's in a different league. If you don't see that with your eyes, maybe the doctor's office can help you, because you should have an eye test. So I will be on the way after this show. Devin, do you want to go to the eye doctor with me? Do you need to get your eyes checked too? I'm just, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. Right? Are they essential personnel? Can we even do it? We'll wear a mask. We'll get our eyes checked, because no. I've always said that I think LeBron is a better all-around athlete. Go ahead, Devin.
My dad's an optometrist. I'll just call him up. He'll bring up his little machine. We'll be good to go, Jackie. I got you.
Look at that. See, look at that. The kingdom is always winning. We got in-house eye doctors. Thank you, David Falk. We are on that. But that's all I got for that. But I'm glad we can go get our eyes checked quickly and safely, because I'm sure Dad has masks as well. So that's all I got for WTF.
All right. Well, now it's time for another hot take from Britt. So, Britt, let's get into it.
All right, what's up, guys? It is time. Oh, thank you. I missed that yesterday, Yeah.
Yeah, Missy, that was on me. That was my bad. That's my bad.
Yeah. But this one we haven't actually talked about on the show, and I really just believe it's because half of the people that work for this show are Lakers fans. But you know what? During Britt's Take, it's my time. So I'm going to share with everyone what is really happening in the world, and that is sports franchises scamming money. So the Small Business Administration did a program to help make businesses as much as they could with a paycheck protection program during this pandemic. We're all supposed to be getting our $1,200 checks, and this is just another way to help small businesses survive during this time. Well, the Los Angeles Lakers came under fire this week because this franchise that is worth roughly $4 billion decided, you know what, guys, I think we're a small business. Let's apply for this as well. So they applied for the program. I don't know what they wrote on their application, but some way or another, they got approved, and they were approved for $4.6 million. They got their check this week. So the Small Business Administration and the federal government, I just want to point out, have been under a lot of criticism because of who's been able to receive the money. There are tons of small businesses that were denied for this program. Their federal government has been giving out money too, and a lot of small businesses have been denied the money. But then you're seeing companies like the Lakers getting checks, and there's other large companies that have been getting money. So the way they've been distributing the money has been under criticism from the from people to the Small Business Administration and the federal government. Obviously, we know who's in office, and he kind of has something to do with who is actually getting the money during this period of time. But it's $349 billion that they've been able to give out in the last couple of weeks, and the Lakers got 4.6 million of that. I have a couple friends that actually have small businesses and were denied, and they really need the money compared to the Lakers organization, who is actually not a small business. So Action Network actually confirmed these funds were received by the Lakers. So they put it on social media and let everybody know the Lakers received the money. And because the Lakers got caught, the Lakers decided to give the money back. Tons of other organizations, not just the Lakers, are still holding on to ticket sales from games. I know I talked about it. I don't know if I said it on the show, but everyone kind of knows that I had tickets to opening game for the Dodgers, and my tickets were like $300-$400, and we got a couple tickets, so they're holding on to like $1,000 worth of just my tickets and wouldn't give the money back because they're saying the game hasn't been canceled, so they can't give us our funds back. However, we all know once baseball does start again, if it does start up again, we're going to be playing the game, at least opening day game, without fans in the stands. So for months now, they've been holding on to people's money and whatever. The Dodgers actually been receiving a lot of flack about that because they haven't returned any money, even like for the earlier season games or spring training games or whatever the case is. So they actually this week announced too that they were going to start trickling down and sending some people that like some of the season ticket holders some of their money back in little spurts for games that might not happen or whatever, and which they should give everybody their money back. And then if it comes to a point where randomly opening day happens where fans can be in the stands, then people can buy tickets at that point, you know. But like to hold on to people's money this time where everybody is out of work, getting, you know, their salaries cut and all that kind of stuff when we need money, and you're just holding on to this money knowing damn well there ain't going to be no opening season game with fans in the stands is absolutely ridiculous. So I know people love organizations like the Lakers and the Dodgers, but they decide to do this to their people, the community that spends so much money on them. Now, my take on this is people work really, really hard for their money. Sometimes they save their money to take their families and stuff to games. Yet in this pandemic, the team that you love and you work so hard for and you support, regardless of anything that they do, they decide to take from small businesses when other small businesses could have used that money. I think it's shameful. I think people need to remember this moment when basketball and when baseball start back up of what your team is actually doing to their own community during this time. So my question, I'll ask Devin and Jackie, because you guys are both Lakers fans. Does this change the way you view your team at all? Or is your love for the team so strong that you can kind of overlook this? Either one of you guys can start.
Jackie,
Let's
you
go,
go.
Jackie.
Okay, so just to be clear, I am a Lakers fan by way of LeBron. I go where LeBron goes. So I just need to throw that out there. So I know it's not going to shake my fandom in the Lakers because LeBron is still there. Now, if he goes, then yeah, I'll talk stuff. But then I'm gone. So I don't have no horse in this Laker race. I'm just here for now. But I will say this. This is a great topic because this is one of the things that I've always had a problem with. I personally, when I saw that the Lakers took $4.6 million, it pissed me off on two levels. One, that you applied for it, and two,
Right.
that you got it. And so that's one of the things that I had said, like when we think about Inglewood, that's a neighborhood that I personally love, but I have friends that have small businesses there, and they know they're going to be driven out because the rents are going to go so high that they're not going to be able to afford it. So one of the things that I've always said is like, you have a responsibility if you're one of these big conglomerate businesses to give back to the community. So instead of taking $4.6 million, I think the Lakers should donate $4.6 million to small businesses in, the community. And I've always said that. This isn't something that I've said just now. This is something that it doesn't make sense for an organization like the Lakers to even, like, somebody should see that application and be like, oh my God, somebody come look at this, like do a Kevin Hart, like look at these fools, they really applied for this. It should be funny and laughable that you even applied for it. It should not get the stamp of approval, but the Lakers should be taxed higher, and the taxes that the Lakers pay that are higher than the rest of us should go to small businesses in the community. This is an easy fix, but just like you said, Britt, with who's in office right now, something that's that simple and logical is not going to happen. But no, I'm still going to wear Lakers jerseys and stuff regardless. So, yeah.
Yeah. Before I get to Devin's thought on it, I'm going to mention an owner that is doing a great job with that is Steve Ballmer. Like, I'm not just saying it because he's the Clippers owner, but he's building that new arena in Inglewood, and he donated $75 million of his own money to affordable housing because he didn't want to kick people out of that area. And then he's doing another $150 million to the community and stuff like that. And that's what these owners should be doing at this time, especially. And he did this before a pandemic was even thought of. He's just like, I'm building on your guys' area, and I'm not trying to kick y'all out. So, Devin, I have the same question for you because you are not just like a LeBron fan, you're actually a Lakers fan. So we'll have to
Yes, I do love the Lake. Honestly, I can't sit here and say that I support what they did. I'm shocked that they even applied for that money as well. I think they ultimately did the right thing in giving it back. But, I'm still a Lakers fan. I don't think this is going to make me suddenly jump ship and be like, Sacramento Kings or anything like that, but it does make you question who's at the top and what they're doing. So I'm still, I'm a Lakers girl, but this is not something that I can really sit here and say I support. And I was going to mention what you were saying about Steve Ballmer, that what he's doing is exactly what people should be helping each other out. We should be taking care of the communities that support us and support them. So I was going to mention that as well. He's setting a good example, and more people need to be following in his footsteps.
Right. And Chris, I know you're not a Lakers fan, so I have another for you. Why do you actually think we as fans overlook? Why do you actually think we as fans I'm not going to ask you a Knicks thing, so stop. I'm not asking you about the Knicks, okay? Why do you think we as sports fans overlook stuff that our teams do instead of just finding like why are we so committed to our sports fan, like who we like as a fan, or what teams we like, more so than we're committed to friendships and relationships? Like, why do we hold on to our team no matter what they do? I know you know something about that being a Knicks fan, but
there it is. And there it is. You still weren't asking me, but you were asking me, because that question goes to all Knicks fans, because it's a great question. That's the reason why I'm upset, because it's like, I never have. Right. Because that's the thing. Like, and I say this all the time in my videos and whenever I talk about this, just because we're stupid. Because honestly, that is probably the number one thing that Knicks fans should be doing. Like, I've talked to so many people that are bigger Knicks fans than me that have been there during the 90s and, the 80s and when he was drafted. So it's like, I get the conversation that, people are saying that we should not be supporting this team so we can put a hurting on their pocket. But that's so easier said than done, because we love the sport. We love basketball. We love football. We love whatever the sport may be. And it's just unfortunate that the team that, whether you are a Jackie and you're following your player, which is probably the best situation, because then you aren't so invested in these situations. But then when you're like you just said, Brady, when you're a Cowboys fan and a Knicks diehard, knowing that, the people at the top are doing what they got to do to make sure that they're getting themselves financially stable while possibly screwing us over in the process. I don't have a genuine answer besides the fact that we're just stupid. We're stupid. I wish I could have a more intelligent answer than that, but I never can find the answer to this question, because I've been asked this question so many times, and I just go around. It's just because we're just dumb. I love basketball too much to be like, you're right, let's go Brooklyn, and I can never. Those words can never come out of my mouth. I can't do it. Yeah, because you're right. It's all unfortunate.
I almost think we live in this world of like, this will pass, so we think the owners are going to win, or a bad season's going to go away. We'll be winning again at some point. Like, obviously some of us have been waiting a lot 100%. Longer than others for things to pass, but I think that's kind of why we live in those moments, because we became a fan for a reason. So yeah.
No, 100%.
That's what our granny said.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Right. It's too short.
All right, guys. Well, that's our show for the day, you guys. Make sure you subscribe, tap the bell, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, wash your hands, stay healthy and clean, and tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we'll see you guys then. Bye.